Thank you very much. First, let me thank Congresswoman Dr. Christensen for those very kind remarks, but also for your leadership on this issue and on so many issues, and for anchoring these special orders week after week. It is so important that the points of views of the Congressional Black Caucus get out to the public, and you've been such a steady and consistent voice, and your presence here is deeply appreciated. Thank you very much. And also, I just have to thank all of the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, Chairman Cleaver, for continuing to beat the drum for justice. This past week, we lost a tireless advocate for justice, equality, and opportunity. And I am deeply saddened by the passing of my friend and activist, John Payton. John was a civil rights attorney and served as the president of the NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund and was lead counsel for the University of Michigan in the 2003 landmark case concerning diversity in higher education. John was a California native, yet his legal victories touched those around the globe. At the center of his conviction was a belief that democracy, at its core, requires that all of the people be included in we the people. His life was really a testimony to this belief. He was the past president of the District of Columbia's Bar Association and served in leadership roles with a number of civil and human rights organizations, including the National Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law and the Free South Africa Movement. And I was very privileged to be with John last year and his wife, my friend Gay McDougall, in Geneva, Switzerland, as we worked through, and I chaired a committee for the UN on minority political participation. John will be deeply missed by so many. My thoughts and my prayers are with his wife, Gay McDougall, and all of his family and his friends. And as we remember John and the progress that we've made with his leadership, we know that the work for justice is far from over. The recent events in Florida are really a grim reminder of the long road ahead. On February 26, 2012, Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old African-American youth, was tragically gunned down while walking home from a local 7-Eleven store. The gunman, 38-year-old George Zimmerman, was not immediately charged for the murder and was released by Sanford Police Department. Lee said that there was not enough evidence to arrest George Zimmerman, even though the killer followed the young male in his SUV and confronted the teen before the shooting. More than 40 days later, as a result of the outrage across the country, dedicated reporting from the media, advocacy from community and faith leaders and vocal parents and families, and of course the facts which spoke for themselves, the wheels of justice are finally beginning to turn. This is really an unfortunate and tragic defining moment that we must come to grips with. And first we must of course seek justice for Trayvon and his family, especially in the wake of the circumstances surrounding his killing. Secondly, we must make certain that this toxic and deadly mix of the power of guns, hate crimes, and racial profiling ends once and for all. Just recently, Bill Cosby said that there is a need to get guns off the street and the people should be taught to use every possible alternative before shooting someone. Yet, of course, there are those who continue to push for vigilante justice with laws like Stand Your Ground. Sanford really could be anywhere. It could be in my own community, and we have many, many of the same challenges as Sanford has. Racial profiling is real. This young teenager was gunned down, of course, because of how he looked, because of the color of his skin. As a mother of 2 sons and the proud grandmother of 2 grandsons, these fears haunted me as I was raising my 2 sons and continue to haunt me each and every day. The reality is that many black parents live with these fears each and every day. Again, Sanford could be anywhere. Hate crimes must be reinforced. Of course, Mr. Zimmerman was fixated and focused on young black males, according to neighbors and press reports. He had been the subject of complaints by neighbors in his gated community for aggressive tactics. Now, our laws state that you cannot injure or intimidate another based on their race. When these laws are broken, the consequences must be applied appropriately. whether it has been the color of one's skin, their religion, their gender, their disability, national origin, or sexual orientation or identity. The sad fact is that too many persons have been the victims of violence, often ending in death, simply because of a characteristic of birth. This senseless violence must end. Sanford could be anywhere. So very many people feel the loss of Trayvon as their own personal loss. And while we cannot understand and feel the pain experienced by Trayvon's family, there is universal pain, a national pain, and it is shared far and wide. And so we will continue to take up the very critical issues of racial profiling and hate crimes. A recent briefing on these issues successfully raised the level of awareness around the country about the deadly combination of guns, racial profiling, and hate crimes. Chairman Cleaver called upon the Department of Justice to investigate the shooting death of Trayvon Martin as a hate crime. On March 19th, the Department of Justice launched a full investigation, and of course, the Congressional Black Caucus is very eager to see this report. As President Obama said, this is a time of soul searching for our nation as it comes to grips with this tragedy. This senseless violence must end. And so we all must recommit ourselves to justice, justice for all. Thank you, Congresswoman Christensen, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, Congresswoman Lee. And you reminded me that I had the honor of traveling with you to Geneva for that conference, that UN conference, that focused on the inequalities, the injustice that exists in far too many areas of the world with respect to voter participation. And as we heard from so many marginalized communities in different countries, it was really sad that when it came from my time to speak, that I spoke from the experience of the United States and the lack of voter participation, the lack of full representation of the District of Columbia, the capital of the United States, and the inability of the people of the territories to vote for the president, our commander-in-chief.
That's right, and I just want to respond. Will you yield for just a minute, Congressman
Yes,
Christensen? It was really a very important moment, I think, and we were again with our great fallen hero, John Payton, when we had this discussion about the disenfranchisement of individuals of the population of the District of Columbia, and he was totally dedicated to voting rights for the District of Columbia, and I'm so pleased that Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton is continuing to fight the good fight and has made sure that all of us do not forget that we live here, during the week, and that we also have a real commitment to ensure that there are full voting rights for residents of the District of Columbia. They pay taxes, they have the full responsibilities and duties of American citizens, and they should be able to vote. And John Payton stood for that throughout his life. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that. And